So, week 1 was grooming, week number 2 was attire, correct. Week number 3 was etiquette. Week number 4, resume. 5, recommendation. Letters of recommendation. And last week we talked about what?
Interviewing.
Work-based learning. Remember we were talking about the importance of email. I'm sorry?
Email.
Yeah, that is what they, yeah, right, Big Slim and Hotmail.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, but work-based learning. And work-based learning is the importance of, good morning. The importance of, just fine, volunteering, interning, or doing something, in your community, that can either give you some knowledge, position that you're interested in going into, or volunteering in a position that may turn into actually a paid position. Has anyone in here ever volunteered somewhere that, let's say, your volunteering has turned into an actual job? Have you volunteered somewhere where they said, hey, I like how you work here, we want to hire you? Okay, where was that?
And St. Vivian Daycare, I volunteered a couple of days and then it turned into a job.
How about you, you said, you raised your hand, you volunteered
At
somewhere?
church, we got a church in the soup kitchen, but I ended up getting hired.
You see what I mean? So, volunteering somewhere can actually turn into a paid position, which is another avenue about getting hired. You know, it's not only just about the resume or just about your interviewing skills. If you go in there and say you'll do something for free and you do it very well, a lot of times they don't want to lose you, so they'll pay you to keep you around for those skills. Another thing I wanted to pass out today were some job interview questions that more than likely you're going to hear in an interview. You're welcome. So, one would be, let's say, they want to know your name. They're going to know, they're going to want to know what city and state you live in, because that's going to be helpful to them to know if, that's going to be helpful to them to know if you're willing to relocate. Because if there's a position available in South Hill, Virginia, but you live in Henderson, and you really don't have transportation to get there, that's important as well. So, they're going to want to know your highest level of education, and if you're currently in school, what type of school you in. You're welcome. See, manners, right? I just passed out about almost 20 of them, and out of 20 people, only one person said thank you. And we just talked about etiquette this morning. Little things like that. What type of job experience do you have? Like where have you worked? You welcome. Let's see, not only where have you worked, but what was your job title while you worked there? What type of experience did you have? What type of, another question is how long have you been there? Now, even though all of this information is going to be, even though a lot of this information is going to be on your resume, need to know exactly what's on your resume. Don't just sit down and write something and not know what's on your resume. It's kind of silly to say that, but if someone's sitting there reading about you, it's basically an autobiography of yourself. And if you don't know what your job duties were at your last job, but you have no paper, I mean, how does that make you look? So these questions are going to be pretty much to confirm the things that you put on paper. One of the things that I have is resumes get you interviews, but interviews get you hired. You can pass out all the resumes you want, you can fill out all the applications you want. But if you have poor interviewing skills, you're not gonna get the job. So, they're gonna wanna know what type of job you're looking for. Do you have any experience in that job, in that career? I know that Miss Kate likes to, she's looking for a position in childcare. And when I was asking a couple of questions off of this, she told me that she has 20 years experience in childcare. Working with embassies, ambassadors, in a foreign country, different languages. She speaks Thai, Cambodian, and some German, I think. But those are great skills that are an asset to you and to in applying for a position. So do you have any certifications like, sorry, what's your name next to this guy? Taria. I know that you're a CNN, and you were working 10 years at Warren Hills. And y'all don't think I pay attention to this stuff, do you? I know you said you were working 10 years at Warren Hills, but if I'm looking for someone in the healthcare industry, not only does she have 10 years experience, but she has certification. You just don't go and become a CNA without going through training, correct? And that's actually a state certified, a state certification. I know she's not here today, she graduated. Denise Perry. Her and her husband own a sanitation company, and she drives a school bus part-time, and they also have trash trucks. Well, with that, what kind of certification does she have? CDL license, right? So she could go apply for a job at Greyhound, a lot of these major companies out there that pay well because she has a certification. So those are things that you want to make sure that you bring up in your interview as well. Your email address so they can get in contact with you is important, and your phone number. Also, when we going back to letters of recommendation, tell me a couple people that you can get letters of recommendation from. We talked about this. Go ahead. President Florida. Your president Florida. Teacher. Who else? Go ahead.
If you work at daycare, the parents of the kids.
Your clients. That's another word. Your clients. Anyone else?
Your minister.
Correct. People that know you, that know you know you. So your minister, let's say your doctor, your dentist, people in a professional type of position that know about you. So is there anyone in here that could write a letter of recommendation on you in this classroom today? You think so? Huh? Do you think Ms. Scott will write a letter of recommendation on you?
Yes, I mean,
What kind of,
depends on who it is.
Right, like I said,
Depends on who it is.
it depends on who it is. It depends how you have been, and another important thing, it depends on what.
Your attitude.
If she knows you.
Mhm.
Now, there's a young lady over there in the other classroom there, I think she didn't come in here today. I think she's only doing math.
Oh, yes,
Okay,
I know who you're talking about.
she's been how many weeks?
Probably 2 weeks.
2 weeks. So how is Ms. Scott going to write a letter of recommendation for her, or you will? If she's only been knowing her 2 weeks?
No way. But Mr. Gay can because he taught her in Henderson.
Or
So
you
he
will?
knows her. But I certainly would not give her a reference.
I mean,
And
that's.
that goes back to what I try to tell most of my students, Mr. Larkin, is that, especially for students who have never worked, a reference from an instructor, because if you've been here, say, 1 semester, who is better to give you a reference than myself? But I tell you, with attitudes, I would never give, I'll just tell you up front, and you know I'm straight and upfront. I would never give someone a reference if I've had attitude problems. If you have an attitude, because that's a reflection on me.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not going to give someone a reference, and then you go someplace and you know, they'll say, but you referred this person. My name will not go on the letter, and I'll just tell you up front.
If you have an attitude, if you're real silly acting, you know, you don't take it serious, you can't do that. I mean, we're all adults here. We're not minors, we're adults, so, we need to act accordingly. And, Ms. Scott is correct. There's only a couple people, less than 5 in this class I'll write a letter of recommendation for. Less than 5. Now, that's as
agree
of,
with you.
that's as of today. Now, that doesn't mean this time next year, let's say I do another semester and I've had an opportunity to, because there's a couple people that were in my class last semester that haven't got their GED yet, that I got a chance to get to know. There's some people that in a short period of time have made a huge impact on me and their seriousness in completing this program. Realize Warrenton is a very small community. It's not like New York City where you see them one day, you may not ever see them again. Here you might see them 3 or 4 times in the same day. Okay.
And I can tell you and I know we gotta go soon, very interesting story. Yesterday, I went to my ophthalmologist, and lo and behold, the receptionist, no, one of the nurses was asking me, where did I work, and I told her, and I'm not gonna call his name, but come to find out, one of her students is in my class, and it's her stepson. So that was very interesting, and I had nothing but kind things to say about him. And she was like, wow, good. So, I mean, you never know. I never knew that I could go to my ophthalmologist on Main Street. And there it
I'll
goes,
give
you
you
know.
another funny example. I don't really like going to the doctor. I try to tough it out, you know, take a couple laps. So my back was hurt real bad a couple months ago, and I went to Mariah Parham Hospital emergency room. And I walked in there, and I didn't even sit down, and the lady behind it, what's it called, triage, where you go in?
Triage.
The lady was like, hey Chad, what you doing here? So then I said, my back is hurting. She said, going back, and they treated me, and I was leaving. And as I was leaving, I said to her, I said, well, you didn't even ask my information, Phil. She said, I know where you work, I know where you live. So I didn't even fill out the paperwork.
That's how small.
That's how small, and I'm in Henderson. So how you act at the gas station with your music blasting every other 4-letter word, or walking into the grocery store and letting the door slam in someone's face, it just people see it. People see everything you do. It's a small world. And all I want to say is just be careful. Just be careful. What I gave to you right here is something I created over the weekend. And it's called a work search record, a job search record. So basically, you put your name at the top. And it's pretty simple. The date of the contact, who you contacted about a position, the employer's name and address, how you contacted them, the type of work you applied for, and the results. So if you called Warrington Dry Cleaners and asked for their hiring, and they said no, you would write the date that you contacted them, who you contacted, contact method would be by phone, position you applied for, and the result. Or if you contacted, let's say, Hardee's, and you went in there and asked to apply for a position, and they said they were not hiring. Well, contact method would be considered what? Walk in on a person. Or if there's a position that you see over at the Employment Security Commission, and you apply for it through email, that could be online. So I just created this for you just so that you can make copies of this and try to track the companies that you've applied for, because just because they're not hiring today doesn't mean they're not hiring next month. Because I've had times when people came into my shop, asked was I hiring, and I said no. 3 weeks later, I needed to hire somebody to do a position, but the person that came in never even left a resume. So that person that I wanted to contact for a position, how am I going to contact them? That's why it's so important to leave a resume. So if you go in, they're not hiring, you can say what? Right, okay. Here's my resume, Mr. Larkins, thank you for your time. I'll contact you in a couple of weeks to see if you might be hiring then. They might say, well, I know we're not hiring. But what this does, this shows a level of professionalism. They might sit here and look at this and say, wait a minute, I didn't know that they did this, they did that. So if you do go back in 2 weeks, it's a way to try to, get employed. Before I wrap up, do you have any questions or comments for me? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
I got one that's bothering me. Now, when it comes down to doing job hunting and stuff, your background always comes up as a problem. Now,
Only if you have a problem in your background.
okay, point taken. But if you have a problem with your background, are you supposed to put it in there, or are you supposed to keep it away if it's not in the state? You understand what I'm saying?
Well, typically, they won't ask you that type of question. And
It actually is. It's on applications.
well, then you gotta be honest. I mean, seriously, what my father used to tell me, do the crime, do the time. Not saying make it light of anything that you did, positive or negative. What I'm saying is, they're gonna find out anything.
Yeah.
So you might as well straight up say what happened, answer the question, they deal with it and move on, compared to try to hide something because folks talk. Folks are probably mad that you got hired and gonna call up anonymously and say, hey, such and such, he did this. Now, it's out there. So I'd rather say, hey, he did this, he was straight up about it, it was 20 years ago, he moved on, he got his GED, he's professional, he's got 10 years experience. Hey, the person who hired you, they might have had a record. You never know. So
sometimes they just ask you to explain.
and they always say anything other than a speaking ticket. I always say that a lot. But yeah, it's one of those things where just it's not like bankruptcy. It doesn't fall off your record after 7 years. Or bad credit. So yeah, if they ask you the question, answer the question. Answering that question is no different than asking you, what is your phone number? You know, if you can't follow directions, then it's all about integrity. Okay?
Right.
I know how to do it. How would he go about it if there was the action? I mean, like Scott was saying, I mean, how would he explain it?
Just tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
I was always told that, you know, you just explain it, but you don't get in depth in it. You just, listen, this is who I am, this is what I've done. You don't blame, you just talk to them and you try to get away from it as quickly as possible. I'm Thomas King, this is what I did this many years ago, this is what happened, but I've learned from that, I'm a changed guy, I'm here today to apply. You just try to stay away from that. But you give them that answer, but you don't sit there and try to dwell on it. You don't, cause see, the more you do that, the more questions they're gonna ask you. So that's why when I was taught this, they said don't sit there and keep going. You just
You gotta leave.
you just give them that and then move on from it.
Okay.
And clock on.
That's why I was wondering how would you combat that? Cause that's what I do.
I mean, that sounds like that's a good way to handle it.
Mhm.
I mean, it really does.
It's a gamble both ways. And the way you look at it is a gamble. Either you're gonna do it or you ain't gonna do it.
Right. But then, you know, the easiest way not to be in that situation? Don't do it. All right. But I'm just saying, but still, going back to what we said, if somebody has a record, okay, that has 20 years experience in plumbing, and I don't have a record, and I've only been doing plumbing for 2 years, that business owner might say, I need experience.
I mean, it's just like what you said, and you know, like I was explaining that too. Hindsight is 50-50. So here I am, I'm 42 years old, and everybody, like I said, like I'm explaining, I'm a potential felon. I'm not gonna go in there and sit and say, this man, and I ain't doing that. I'm just gonna explain it to him, and just move away from that. You know, I mean, you can say, well, don't do a crime, but if you, my age, with some of these people, you can't say, just don't do a crime. It's done. What's done is done. But you gotta learn how to combat that. You gotta learn how to go in there and still be professional, still talk to these people.
Well, the reason why I say this, you gotta understand, like, you're 42, right? I'm 37. I know we got some 19, 20-year-olds in here. 20, yeah, exactly. We got some youngins in here.
Watch it.
So what I'm saying is, I'm not just talking to you. I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking to the young folks as well. I'm talking to your homeboys that's out there thinking about hanging out in front of the blue store getting in trouble. What I'm saying is, what we do in this classroom, listen, I'm serious. What we do in this classroom is not just about you.
And you know something else?
What we do in this classroom is not just about you. It's about what you can share in your community. Because people live here, they live in Orlando, they live in Macon, we go to all different churches. It's about helping one another. So I can't speak only to 40-year-old. This is not an ex-felon class.
Right.
This is not a non-felon class. This is Asian, white, black, young, old, Native American. This is a mixture. So when I speak to all. And if it addresses you, then you have to deal with it accordingly. If it addresses you, you have to deal with it accordingly. If it doesn't address you, that doesn't mean you don't listen. What that means is if you know someone that it can address them, you share with them.
Same thing with them sometimes, and this is something that I know happens. When you go out at break time, and you go out and smoke weed, and you come back in here, I know who does it. I mean, obviously, I smell it. So it's the same thing, you know. I know, you know, I'm not talking about the cigarette smoking, but I know there's some folks here who go out at break time, come back, they have smoked weed. And do you really think if you want to go look for a job, and I'm going to give you a reference? So that's something, I'm not saying to everyone, but I got to make that general comment. I know it happens. And you may say, well, how do I know if I'm smelling weed? And yeah, I mean, hey, it is what it is. I've been around and I know what weed smells like.
All right, I think that's it. Okay.
I kind of go to job interviews, man, like you just said earlier. I learned it. Like what you said, they told me that an impression of 5 minutes can carry me a lifetime. So that just matters. Anytime you're in an interview, whether Ms. Scott does, whatever impression she get in this classroom, whether I speak out, whatever, it's gonna carry me wherever. If she may not care too much for me, but I do okay. She's gonna speak. She's gonna speak nice about me because
I'm gonna tell you why I was a little late today. I'm gonna share something. I was in Wake County yesterday at the, you know where the Wake County Courthouse is? Real
downtown Women's Street.
Yeah, 316 Wilmington Street, I think is what it is.
Okay.
All right, so I went in there, I didn't know anybody. I went into the clerk of court's office yesterday. I had on a suit, tie, everything, ready to roll. I went to the clerk of court's office and I said, I have a program out of Warren County, and what we can do is we can assist the people that are behind in child support and help them find an employment. And what I call the program is Child Support Diversion Program. Like, you know, if you get a DUI, they have a program for that.
Right.
Or if you get caught shoplifting, they have a program for that. Or if you know, if you do it, get into some type of trouble, they have little programs to get it expunged off your record. Well, with child support, there are not that many jobs out there. People are trying to find them. But if you're behind in child support and you go to jail, now you have a record. It's even going to be even harder to find work. They're running out of jail space in Wake County, so they're putting people on house arrest. They're on child support. Right. So I met with the people last week. I met with the folks last week in Franklin County, and the lady was like, "Oh well, we have a lot of child support cases here. We average 300 a month child support cases."
Maybe you come to Warren County.
No, Wake County. I met with. Listen to me. I met with the lady who's a supervisor over child support. They average 100 cases a day. A day. That's 500 a week times 4 weeks. That's 2,000 cases a month. All right. So when I went and talked with the lady in the child support department about this program, I knew I only had 2 minutes for either she was going to like it or not. From what you said, you had 5 minutes to sell yourself. So within 2 minutes, she said, "Well, I like the program. I want to introduce you to Judge Bailey. They have 3 judges who are over child support because there's so much child support. He's the chief judge over child support." So I said, okay, now I'm thinking I'm going to go to his office. She takes me through the back into the judge's chambers. Well, I'm sitting back there, the bailiffs are back there, handcuffs. I said, I ain't never been taken through the back to see all this. I didn't know what it was like back here. So then she goes up and takes the judge, because he's actually in court, my paperwork. I hear him reading the paperwork in the courtroom. He stops, comes out to his chambers and says, "You got 3 minutes, tell me about your program." And I bam, told him about the program. He said, "Sounds good to me, give me a card because we need this here in Wake County." So going back to what we said, you got 6 steps for it to be in a successful interview. He interviewed me there as a walk-in. Groomed, attired, etiquette, resume was what the program is. Letters of recommendation would be from the other places I've worked with, and work-based learning, you know, how I'm working in the community with it. So if it's somewhere you want to work with something you can do, you don't have to just sit back and go online and see if they hire. Go in there and tell them you want the job. Tell them what you want to do and how you can be an asset to their company. All right, thank you, appreciate it.